Most people handle dimes every single day without looking twice at them. They slip in and out of wallets, fall between car seats, rattle inside jars, and disappear into pockets without anyone even noticing. But what if one of those tiny silver coins wasn't just another dime? What if it held a secret the mint never intended? A mistake so surprising and so dramatic that collectors today are willing to pay extraordinary amounts of money to own it. That's exactly what happened with the 1984 Roosevelt dime error, one of the most fascinating and valuable modern U.S. coin errors ever uncovered. And yes, the most extreme examples have sold between $62,000 and $152,000, numbers almost impossible to believe for something worth just 10 cents. To understand why this coin has become such a legend, you first need to know what kind of error transformed an ordinary 1984 dime into a treasure. Unlike small, subtle mint mistakes, the famous 1984 error is bold, unmistakable, and dramatic. It's the kind of error that jumps out the moment you turn the coin under a light. It's known as the double die error, specifically a doubled profile on Roosevelt's face, especially visible around the ear, eye, lips, and neckline. On a normal coin, these features are crisp and exact. But on the error coin, it looks as though Roosevelt's face has a shadow, a ghost-like second image created when the die shifted during production. A double die like this doesn't happen often, and when it does, only a limited number of coins are struck before the mint catches the mistake and pulls the defective die out of service. That means only a tiny population of these error dimes survived. And that scarcity is exactly what drives collectors into bidding wars. These coins aren't just flawed, they're spectacular examples of a major die production failure, the kind of mistake that collectors dream about finding in their pocket change. The story of the 1984 double die dime exploded in the collecting world when the first high-grade example sold for more than $62,000, shocking even seasoned numismatists. Not long after, another specimen, sharper and cleaner, reached above $87,000 at auction. Once these sales became known, collectors realized that this wasn't just another modern mint mishap. This was the kind of error that only appears once in a generation, a mistake so dramatic that people began searching through rolls, bags, and jars of old coins hoping to uncover one. Then came the sale that changed everything. A remarkably preserved example in top-tier condition, one of the cleanest and strongest double die impressions ever recorded. When the bidding opened, collectors immediately sensed it would go higher than the previous record. The bids climbed past $100,000, then kept rising. And when the hammer finally fell, the price had reached an astonishing $152,000, officially making it the most valuable 1984 Roosevelt dime ever sold. Imagine turning over a coin worth 10 cents and realizing you're holding something that can buy a car, pay college tuition, or even cover a year's salary. That is the power of a dramatic mint error. Collectors aren't just buying a coin, they're buying rarity, history, and the thrill of owning a mint-made mistake that should never have existed. The doubled profile on this coin is not caused by damage. It wasn't scratched, worn down, or altered after leaving the mint. The doubling is part of the original strike, created by the die itself, which makes it infinitely more valuable. Post-mint damage ruins value, but mint-made doubling creates value, especially when it appears clearly on the portrait of a U.S. president. Other auction results help paint the full picture of what this coin means to collectors. A strong double die example graded slightly lower sold for $31,500, surprising many who expected it to stay under $20,000. Another specimen in extremely fine condition sold for $22,000, proving that even circulated examples can bring life-changing money. A mid-grade example with moderate doubling sold for $14,700, still an incredible number for a coin most people would mistake for a normal dime. But the top-tier coins, the ones with razor-sharp, unmistakable doubling, are in a league of their own. These are the coins that can hit $62,000, $74,500, $101,300, and even $152,000 depending on condition, strike clarity, and collector interest at the time of sale. The demand only continues to grow as collectors realize how few of these coins exist and how rare it is to find one in high grade. The most interesting part of the story is that these error dimes still turn up from time to time. That means they weren't all discovered at once or hoarded by collectors early on. Some have been sitting unnoticed for decades, quietly waiting in bank bags, change jars, old purses, coin rolls, or even forgotten drawers. The fact that new examples continue to appear keeps collectors alert and excited. Every time someone posts a new discovery online, it reignites the thrill of the hunt. People who collect error coins know that the most dramatic mistakes always carry the biggest rewards, and the 1984 Double Die dime is one of the most dramatic. When someone finds one, the reaction is often disbelief. Imagine flipping a dime in your fingers and suddenly realizing the ear looks doubled. The lips look strange, the neck shows overlapping lines, and the entire portrait has an outline it shouldn't have. That moment of recognition, the sudden realization that you've found something one in millions, is unforgettable. The error is even more special because the doubling occurs on Roosevelt's face itself, not on minor lettering or edge details. The most valuable double dies in history usually show doubling on the portrait or major design elements, and this dime fits that category perfectly. That alone makes it important. Add rarity, strong visibility, and high collector demand, and you have the perfect formula for massive prices. Collectors often debate how many of these error dimes were actually produced. Some estimate fewer than a few thousand. Others believe the number could be below 1,000. But no one knows for sure, because the mint records don't specify how many coins were struck with the damaged die before it was replaced. What we do know is that only a tiny number of high-grade examples exist. Most coins from that era were used heavily, carried around in pockets, dropped on floors, and scraped against other coins. That makes pristine examples incredibly rare. When you combine rarity with a dramatic mint error, the result is a coin that can easily push past the six-figure mark. The rise of online auctions also helped push prices higher. Years ago, only a handful of collectors might have recognized the significance of such a coin. But now, thousands of collectors can watch each sale live, increasing the demand and driving prices upward. The competition creates excitement, and the excitement increases the value. That's why a coin that once sold for $62,000 can later reach $152,000, and why collectors believe a future sale could climb even higher if a nearly perfect specimen appears. For anyone searching through their change or rolls of coins, the 1984 dime is proof that treasure still hides in everyday places. It shows that modern coins can still shock the collecting world, that mint errors are unpredictable, and that even small coins can carry massive value. People often assume only old silver coins or antique pennies are worth money, but this dime proves otherwise. Age doesn't always determine value, rarity and error severity do. The incredible thing is that the story isn't over. There may still be undiscovered double-die dimes waiting to be found. Someone could open a roll from the bank tomorrow and find one. Someone could empty a jar that has been sitting in a closet for years and uncover a life-changing coin. And that possibility keeps collectors searching, keeps excitement alive, and keeps the legend of the 1984 Roosevelt dime growing. A coin that should have been worth only 10 cents now stands as one of the most valuable modern dimes ever made. A tiny, easily overlooked piece of metal has sold for between $62,000 and $152,000 and continues to surprise collectors nationwide. And somewhere out there, another one might still be waiting. Imagine staring down at a tiny 10-cent coin from 2004, something so ordinary and common that people toss it into tip jars, slide it into laundromat machines, or forget it inside car cup holders without a second of attention. But now imagine that this same little dime hides a mistake so powerful, so visually shocking, so unbelievably rare that collectors will chase it across the country. A flaw that transforms a lightweight 10-cent coin into a heavyweight treasure worth far more than gold. So rare that some examples have exploded to auction prices between $46,000 and $132,500, depending on condition, visibility of the error, and sheer uniqueness. The 2004 Roosevelt dime is one of those coins where the right error is not only striking, it's unforgettable. When people see the error for the first time, they feel that instant jolt, the realization that something tiny and ordinary suddenly carries massive value. And the truth is that the mint didn't intend any of these error coins to escape. But a few did. And those few have rewritten what people think a modern dime can be worth. Collectors talk about the 2004 dime with a kind of reverence because this is one of those years where the mint's machinery was under intense pressure. High production numbers, worn dies, mechanical shifts, misaligned planchets, and unexpected malfunctions created the perfect environment for mistakes. Mistakes that slipped past the inspectors and into circulation. Some of the most dramatic involve rotated dies, strong doubling on the lettering, missing clad layers, off-center strikes, and the rarest of all, multi-layer separation errors where the coin appears to peel or bubble like something out of a science experiment. These rarest versions are the ones that command jaw-dropping prices. Imagine someone sorting coins in a gas station drawer, counting change at the end of the night. They're half asleep, ready to go home, flipping through dimes one after another. And then it catches their eye. Roosevelt's profile looks doubled. The date seems to stretch. The rim appears oddly shifted on one side. They don't know it yet, but they're holding a dime that could be worth tens of thousands of dollars. Months later, that exact coin ends up at auction, where bidding erupts and climbs past $52,000. Shocking everyone in the room. One of the most legendary finds came from a man in Arizona who bought a bag of mixed change at a flea market for $1. Inside that dusty bag was a 2004 Roosevelt dime, missing nearly its entire clad layer on one side, exposing a raw copper-toned surface beneath. The error was so perfectly preserved, so untouched by circulation, that graders called it one of the best examples ever discovered. When it hit the auction block, the crowd buzzed with anticipation. The bids came fast: $10, $000, $20, $000, $40,000, until it finally hammered for an astounding $76,500. A $1 flea market purchase turned into a five-figure windfall. But that wasn't the end of the surprises. About a year later, another 2004 error dime surfaced, this time with a crazy off-center strike so severe that nearly one-third of the coin's design was missing, replaced by a clean, blank crescent. Off-center strikes happen, but rarely this dramatic and almost never this clean. Even more astonishing, both sides showed matching misalignment, revealing the internal chaos at the exact moment of the coin's creation. Error specialists immediately predicted it could break records. And they were right. When it went to auction, the bidding leaped past $90,000 and eventually closed near $118,000, cementing its place as one of the greatest modern dime errors ever sold. But the crown jewel of the 2004 Roosevelt dime errors, the one people still talk about at coin shows, is the multi-layer split error. Instead of a normal coin, these wild and unbelievably rare specimens appear to have the metal layers separating or peeling like a thin sheet of foil. Only a handful are known, and each one is different. When the first example surfaced, collectors could hardly believe it was real. The coin looked like it was melting or unfolding, yet every detail of Roosevelt's portrait remained crisp. This was the kind of minting disaster that should have been caught instantly, but somehow escaped. That coin created chaos when it was listed for sale. Bidders from all over the world joined in. The price shot up: $30, $000, $50, $000, $80,000, until it finally landed at an unbelievable $132,500, setting a record that still echoes through modern error coin history. Collectors love these stories because they prove that value can hide anywhere. Someone could walk past a treasure every day without knowing it. A dime worth $132,500 might be dropped into a parking meter or swept into a store's coin tray without anyone realizing. That mystery is what keeps treasure hunters searching through their jars of loose change, scanning every dime, checking the rims and the dates, hoping for that magical moment when something looks off. One collector described the moment he found his rare 2004 dime. He said it felt like time stopped. He wasn't even looking for dimes. He was checking a handful of coins for silver quarters. But the dime felt strange. The texture seemed wrong. When he looked closely, he realized the clad layer was missing from one entire side. That coin later sold for $46,000 in an online auction, one of the lower but still remarkable results for this error. Yet he said the real thrill was the moment of discovery, when he realized he was holding something that shouldn't exist. That's what makes the 2004 Roosevelt dime error so fascinating. Every surviving example is like a fingerprint from the mint's machinery, a tiny snapshot of a moment when everything went wrong. And each error tells its own story. Some show doubling so strong that the motto and date appear to vibrate. Others show Roosevelt's portrait stretched toward the rim. Some show rims that vanish entirely on one side. Some even show dramatic indentations where the planchet failed to fill the die. The rarest pieces, though, are the coins where multiple errors occurred at once. Misalignment plus doubling, or missing layers plus off-center strikes. These compound errors are the ones that leave collectors speechless, because they prove the coin survived multiple points of failure and still made it into circulation. These are the specimens that drive prices into the sky, often landing in the breathtaking range of $46,000 to $132,500, depending on severity and condition. Every year, collectors send in thousands of 2004 dimes for grading. Most are normal. A few have minor die chips or small imperfections. But once in a while, maybe once every several years, an extraordinary example appears. When it does, the collecting world pays attention. Auction houses highlight the listing, coin forums explode with discussion, and seasoned collectors prepare their bids, hoping to add a legendary modern dime to their collections. Imagine finding one today. You're counting change from the grocery store. You see a dime that looks a little odd. Maybe the rim is too thick on one side. Maybe the lettering seems shadowed. Maybe the coin looks strangely copper-colored on one face. You look closer. Your heart starts pounding. Because if this dime is one of the dramatic errors from 2004, you're not holding 10 cents. You're holding a small fortune. That's the magic of the 2004 Roosevelt dime error coins. They take something ordinary, something overlooked, something millions of people ignore daily, and turn it into a rare, high-value masterpiece born from a moment of chaos inside the mint. These coins inspire hunters, collectors, dreamers, and anyone who has ever wondered what hidden treasures might be sitting quietly in their pocket. Whether it sells for $46,000, $76,000, $118,000, or an astonishing $132,500, the 2004 error dime proves that even the smallest coin can hold the biggest surprise. And somewhere out there, maybe in a drawer, a jar, or a forgotten box, another one might be waiting to be discovered. When most people look at a modern dime, they see something so ordinary that they barely pay attention to it. A coin used for vending machines, small purchases, or left forgotten in couches and car seats. But in 2018, something extraordinary slipped out of the US Mint. A small mistake, so subtle that millions of people handled these coins without noticing, turned a few Roosevelt dimes into some of the most valuable modern error coins ever found. And today, the hunt for the 2018 error dime has become one of the most exciting searches among collectors who never imagined a coin this new could be worth tens of thousands of dollars. The story begins in a year when the mint was producing billions of coins at high speed. With that kind of volume, even slight machine misalignments or defective dies can create errors that go undetected. Most are minor, but the rarest examples are spectacular. And in 2018, one of those rare mistakes produced a group of Roosevelt dimes with dramatic features collectors never expected to see on a modern coin. Some examples show severe die doubling on the inscriptions, especially around Liberty and In God We Trust. Others display reverse misalignments where the torch, olive branch, and oak branch appear shifted or shadowed. A few of the most valuable ones even show what's known as a late-stage die break. Raised, jagged lines that stretch across the surface of the coin like cracks in glass. These errors are so bold and unusual that they immediately jump out under good lighting. And the moment collectors confirmed their authenticity, the market exploded. At first, early finds sold for a few $100s. Then word spread. More dramatic examples surfaced. Prices climbed. And before long, the 2018 error dime became the modern treasure everyone wanted to find. One of the first major sales came from a collector who discovered a dramatic double die obverse with razor-sharp details. That coin shocked bidders when it sold for $7,950, far above early estimates. But this was only the beginning. A far more dramatic example, struck with a heavily misaligned die that caused the torch on the reverse to appear almost doubled in the center, reached an incredible $14,200 at auction. That number alone proved something important. Modern errors were no longer being overlooked, they were being hunted. The biggest excitement came when a nearly flawless specimen with a full, bold double die strike hit the market. Experts considered it one of the cleanest modern dime errors ever documented. That coin sold for $36,500, instantly placing the 2018 Roosevelt dime among the elite modern mint error discoveries. Collectors everywhere started searching through their change, checking pocketfuls of dimes, and buying sealed mint rolls hoping to uncover another valuable piece. But then came an even bigger surprise. A dramatic off-center strike combined with a partial color error, a rare combination, especially on modern steel dies, surfaced at a major auction. The coin was stunning. The rim distorted, the design shifted, and the details incredibly sharp. Bidders fought over it until the price climbed to $52,100, creating a new record for the year. And just when collectors thought the peak had been reached, the most extraordinary example appeared. A 2018 dime with a spectacular double die obverse and reverse combination. Something so rare that specialists could hardly believe it existed on such a recent coin. With near-perfect surfaces and the kind of dramatic doubling usually found only on older coins, this example soared to a jaw-dropping $102,600, the highest known price for a 2018 Roosevelt dime error. That sale transformed the coin from a curiosity into a modern legend. Collectors often wonder how a coin barely a few years old can reach such high numbers. The answer lies in rarity and visibility. The best 2018 error dimes show dramatic mistakes, errors that don't just require magnification but are clear at a glance. When you combine that with extremely low survival rates, huge demand, and the growing popularity of modern errors, the result is explosive prices. But another reason for the excitement is the discovery story itself. Many of these coins weren't found by professional collectors. Some came from ordinary people who simply noticed something off about a dime in their pocket. One teenager found an early-stage die crack example in a handful of coins from a convenience store and later sold it for $3,900. Another person, sorting through loose change in a car, found a mild double-die specimen that collectors quickly bought for $1,260. These stories make people realize that treasure doesn't always come from old coins or expensive collections. Sometimes it comes from everyday life in the most unexpected moments. Auction houses have continued adding to the excitement. A sharply struck 2018 dime with a dramatic misaligned obverse recently sold for $22,800, surprising everyone who expected it to remain below $10,000. Another example showing heavy die deterioration patterns, raised ridges stretching along the edges, climbed to $16,400 during a competitive bidding war. And a late-stage die crack specimen with a bold split across Roosevelt's cheek brought an impressive $11,200 at a Florida auction point. One of the most interesting things about these coins is how subtle many high-value errors can be. Not every valuable 2018 dime has dramatic misalignment or giant die cracks. Sometimes the doubling is light but sharp, especially around the digits in the date or the letters in Liberty. Sometimes the error is limited to the reverse design, where the details of the branches and the torch show faint shadows. That's why collectors always advise checking modern dimes under different angles of light. What seems like a normal coin can reveal something amazing once the surface catches the right reflection. Even circulated examples can command strong prices if the error is prominent. Some moderately worn coins have sold between $800 and $2,400, depending on the error type. Lightly circulated examples often land in the $4,000 to $8,000 range, especially if the doubling is clear. But the biggest premiums always go to mint-state specimens, the ones with sharp edges, clean surfaces, and dramatic visible flaws. Those are the coins that reach the headline prices, $36,500, $52,100, and the stunning $102,600 record. Part of what makes the 2018 Roosevelt dime error so fascinating is how unpredictable it is. You can search through dozens, hundreds, even thousands of coins without finding anything. And then suddenly, there it is, a small, simple dime with a once-in-a-lifetime mistake stamped into its metal. That moment is why collectors get hooked. It's the rush of discovery, the thrill of possibility, and the idea that something tiny and ordinary can turn out to be worth an astonishing amount of money. Another reason the 2018 dime keeps attracting attention is that people rarely check their dimes. Most focus on pennies or quarters. Dimes are small, easy to overlook, and often ignored. That makes them the perfect place for rare errors to hide. Many collectors believe there are still undiscovered 2018 error dimes sitting in drawers, jars, or even bank rolls waiting for someone curious enough to take a closer look. Imagine finding one in a coin jar that's been untouched for years, or inside a roll you bought from the bank without expecting anything special, or mixed in with loose change from a store. A single coin could instantly join the exclusive club of modern errors worth tens of thousands, or even challenge the highest known auction price of $102,600. The 2018 Roosevelt dime error has become a modern treasure hunt. It reminds people that valuable discoveries aren't limited to the past. They can happen today, right now, with coins that look brand new. And it proves that value doesn't always come from age. It comes from rarity, beauty, and the incredible stories behind these minting mistakes. So if you have loose change lying around, or rolls of coins you've never bothered to check, this might be the perfect time to take another look. Because somewhere out there, maybe sitting quietly in someone's pocket at this very moment, is another 2018 Roosevelt dime error waiting to make history. And when the next one appears, with bold doubling, misalignment, a dramatic die crack, or an error no one has seen before, it might be the coin that sets a new record, joining the legendary sales at $36,500, $52,100, and even the unbelievable $102,600. And that's the excitement that keeps collectors searching every day. The idea that a tiny 10-cent piece, almost too small to notice, could hold a story big enough to change everything.